Hi, everyone. My name is Chetna, and I'm excited to welcome you to our CIO chat series, where I have this unfair luxury of chatting with some amazing CIOs. Before we start chatting, though, I wanted to talk about a historic figure whose brilliance has always enamored me, Leonardo da Vinci. The Book of Genius ranks Da Vinci as the number one genius of all times. And just to put that in perspective, Einstein was number 10. As an example, before any flying machines were invented, Da Vinci designed, of all the things, the parachute. To date, his parachute's proportions are the only ones that work. What I really love about Da Vinci's genius is the timelessness and practicality of it. In one of my favorite books, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, the author talks about Da Vincian principles or characteristics that are not only relevant, but also critical for survival in today's world. One such principle is fumato. Literally, it means going up in smoke in Italian. At its heart, it's about chaos endurance. So just go to the internet later today and pull up the image of Mona Lisa. You will understand what sfumato means. There's no clear outline, there's blurriness, it's nebulous. It is for us to interpret and hopefully appreciate. And what better trait to have than chaos endurance in today's world of complete reinvention, constant change, and literally obliteration of traditional operating models? And by the way, Accenture's Tech Vision backs that sentiment by stating that the masters of change are the real leaders who create a new vision for the future with their bold leadership. And our guest today is a leader in a company that reinvented itself repeatedly in the face of change to not just differentiate, but also revolutionize an industry. So, with great pleasure, I would like to introduce our guest today, the Chief Digital Officer and the CIO of none other than Dell, Jen Felch. Jen, I'm ecstatic to have you on our CIO chat series. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. That's well, I learned quite a bit already, just learning a bit about Leonardo da Vinci. So
Yes, and more to
excited.
come.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we will actually continue on that theme of Da Vinci and thriving in chaos and change. Now, Dell has paved the way for others when it comes to digital transformation. And Jen, you are the Chief Digital Officer at the helm of this transformation. So, what are your thoughts on the kind of bold thinking and guiding principles that have led to this level of success?
Well, it's a great question, and I think if we look at Dell and other companies that have transformed over time, there's one thing that I think kind of sits at the heart of it, and that is really listening to customers and listening to customers in terms of how are they using your products today and what are the needs that may not be solved yet. And I really appreciate that about Dell. I mean, it certainly when you're a startup, Michael, maybe early days in that dorm room, listening to what customers were asking for. And he's got a great podcast on PBS if you're interested to talk about those early days. But he was really listening to customers who came to buy one thing and observed and talked about what other problems they were trying to solve. And to date, that foundation, that practice of listening to customers, responding to their needs, has been a foundation for our own transformation and the evolution of our business over time. So, where we thought maybe in the very early days selling direct to then having a big online presence to fast forward today where we're now offering our solutions as a service. I think it's all due to listening to customers and responding to their needs.
Wonderful. Now your guiding principles on top of my list. I love the point that you said, kind of listening to the customer, focusing on them, but also kind of the nuance, right? Listening to the latent needs. That's awesome. And
Yes.
Jen, you were quoted in Forbes last year, and one of the things you said is when IT can be proactive, everybody wins. And you also believe that IT is fundamental to every business process at the company. Now, you have a dual role here. You are also the CIO. So tell us about how being strategic about technology can be a game changer for an organization.
Well, thank you for asking that question. I'm gonna talk about it maybe in a few ways. First, as an IT leader, we do have great opportunities to be proactive about our investments, about the migrations we're making, because I often say if we wait until someone asks us about it, we're going to be 2 years late, right? Because by the time people ask it, they probably already need it. So as IT leaders, we need to be forward thinking, particularly when you have a large organization or a large company to say, where do we need to be 18 to 24 months from now? And let's get started now. And that also gives us the opportunity to learn. The other thing you mentioned is I genuinely believe today most of our processes, if not all of them, are highly dependent on IT, on information, on our tools, on our data. So that convergence of your process and your tools and your data is one. I often say that people today see their company, they see their processes, they see the companies they work with through the tools that they provide. And so the opportunity for us in terms of, and I say us just as leaders in any sort of digital transformation, is to think about how do you create those great experiences for customers, for internal users by converging those things. People always see they always see it through the tools. And I view of saying, let's be really proactive about how we're designing those processes and tools to create the kind of experiences that humans want, and that create, really create a competitive, hopefully create a competitive solution for the company.
Wonderful. In addition to everything you said, I like your point again on the hyper focus on customers and leveraging technology for that. Excellent. And now, Jen, we're going to jump to my favorite part, getting to
Okay.
know
Okay.
getting to know our CIO. These are rapid fire questions, relatively rapid fire. So I'm going to get started. One role in your career that taught you the most?
Um, at one point in my career, I ran our second shift operations for manufacturing, and I would say I absolutely learned the most in that role and during that time period, whether it was about leadership or about how all of our processes had to come together so that we could actually build the right solution for customers. So that would be the one role that taught me the most.
Excellent. What message would you like to give to your CEO, Michael Dell?
Ah, um, I think as an overall message, I would say thank you. And I would say thank you for something that most people may or may not recognize unless they work here, which is thank you for creating an inclusive culture and a true meritocracy. I think that, we often say it's very hard to change cultures at companies. And so pick a good one, right? So pick a good culture, pick a great company.
That's heartening to hear. Your favorite way to give back to society?
Um, I thought about this, and there are many things that I do in terms of whether we're talking about nonprofit organizations, but I think perhaps the most important way to give back to society, particularly as leaders, is creating a great place to work every day. And as leaders in IT, we have an opportunity and a reach that is incredible. And so when I think about the best way for me to give back to society is creating opportunities for people around the world to fulfill their expectations and the capabilities that they have and have a respectful workplace. It was I'll just share, it was a lesson also from manufacturing that someone said to me when I first got the role. They said, in many cases, this may be the most respectful and rational place that these people are in their week, and honor that. And I think that's an important way to give back.
Wow, what that is an amazing perspective. Favorite sport or activity?
Pretty much anything outside. So whether it's hiking or running or kayaking, I love to be outside and being active.
Great. And innovation or diversity?
So I think this is a tough one. I ask, does I'm just going to tell you my thought process. If I thought innovation, I think innovation goes really well with diversity. Um, but I think I'm going to pick diversity because diversity will fuel innovation. So I'm going to pick diversity.
Great. And the last one from the rapid round, and I have to ask this because both you and I are quote people. So a couple of quotes that embody your leadership style.
I wish I had a good one from Da Vinci right now because that would just sort of tie this all together. But there's one that I keep in mind, and maybe it's because I'm a female leader, but it's from an old politician that basically says it's hard to lead. It's hard to lead a cavalry charge if you're worried about what you look like on a horse. And I love it because it just is a reminder to say, let's focus on the goal and let's focus on really leading our teams and make it less about who we are as individuals. And then the second quote that I heard recently from our US hero Tom Brady is that you genuinely have to care about your team and winning to be the kind of leader that has the kind of success that he does. And I think that it's so simple, but actually not as common as we might expect, which is you really have to care about people to get them to follow you.
I love how your quotes are focused on the people aspect. Love that. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you your perspective on our biggest asset, our people, and especially when we're talking digital transformation, right? So in
Right.
today's landscape, right, people I think get an uneasy feeling by a perceived decrease in reliance on them. We know technology is getting democratized, right? We've got to rely more on ecosystem partners. We can leverage technology in lieu of humans. So, Jen, what is your advice for the workforce and high tech industry in terms of future ready skills, resilience, and adaptability?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of great solutions become reality for us to automate routine tasks, right? To um, take care of things that are genuinely like we're able to put into an algorithm and solution. But when it comes to people, I look and think the opportunity for each of us is not to say, oh my gosh, am I going to get replaced by a bot? Probably not. I mean, I don't think that's a reality. But I do think that there are so many opportunities for us to just continuously learn. And so, one of the things that I look for on my own team is just people who are curious. Because if you're naturally curious, you're going to keep building your skills, you're going to keep learning about new ways of working, new technology, new opportunities. And so when I think about people as our asset, it's not people with skills that are locked in time. It's people are capable of learning and doing so much. So I don't think that we're going to see, people going away at any point. But I think it should remind us to keep investing in ourselves and keep learning new skills and be curious. Continue to be curious.
Wonderful advice and so topical. So, Jen, this has truly been fun. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you and I appreciate your time and amazing insights. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have to say, I think maybe this aspect of chaos endurance might represent a little bit of what IT roles can feel like at times. We'll have to test that out.
Yes, and maybe you and I, if we get a Da Vinci, we can hire them, right? Um,
Yeah.
So again, it was great, Jen. Thank you so much. So there we have it, right? Remarkable thinking and execution. And by the way, in his book, Direct from Dell: Strategies to Revolutionize an Industry, Michael Dell was hailed as clearly a genius. And now Jen detailed how a bold approach to digital transformation, where the principles are crisp, where technology is mindfully leveraged, and where people matter, can yield amazing results. Just like in Da Vinci's case, this forward-looking thinking, undaunted by disruption and even chaos, this fumato is what creates a legacy. Thank you for tuning in. Until our next CIO chat, be well and arrivederci.